Hello, guys. This is the story of when I felt the presence of evil. To give some context to the story, I should say that I am a registered nurse, single mother of one, and I just moved to a new house. I am new in the city, and for privacy reasons, I am preserving my rights to remain silent about what city I am in. Please don't judge me. It's just that I am a very private person. Anyway, my story starts with me a decade ago wanting to be a nurse. I always liked helping people and make the difference. At first, I had the idea that nurses get to help people while at the same time get rewarded and all of them are happy. I was wrong. Being a nurse has its perks, but also is very tiring at times. Long hours, working night shifts sometimes, and taking shifts that sometimes you cannot even do, and all the people around you are angry if you turn them down. Besides, sometimes you have to take shit from other co-workers and doctors, and it's a hell lot of things. Anyways, one day I had under my care a few elder people. They were over 80 years old, and for some reason they all died one by one in a matter of a month. One of my co-workers, a nurse whom I can catalog as very devoted to her religion, told me that some of those people have done very bad things and they wouldn't get their proper rest. Even after they died, they turned against the people that helped them. Jeez, talk about pure evil. And what about this person, this co-worker of mine? I know that people that go to church or they are very devoted to whatever religion they are in, I don't know, they like to gossip. But anyways, back to the story. I took it as a mumbo jumbo because although I am a nurse, and although sometimes I went to the patient's rooms and helped them taking their vitals, or to just converse with them, mostly I spend my work hours behind a desk at the nurse's station. I do recall one time we had a woman who was brought to the hospital from prison. It was crazy. Even though I see it sometimes, I always get goosebumps every time I have a patient like that. I remember how she looked at me and how she asked me if I had kids. I remember I said I have a boy of 4. I remember how she smiled, how she went quiet after learning I had a son. 1 week later, this patient died. Apparently, she had a malign tumor, incurable, and she came to the hospital because the prison she was in didn't count with the needed assistance she required. After she passed, I started to feel like someone was following me after work, as if a shadow was behind me all the time. This always happened that night. It was crazy. Thank goodness I don't have that feelings anymore. I have to mention that as a registered nurse, I often get out of at late hours, usually at 11 p.m. or even well after midnight. I kept having that feeling that almost every day for a month. One day I had a phone call. an assisted living was in need of a head nurse at another city. We set up an appointment and I got the job. The hours will be more calm, not much stress, and it will give me more time to spend with my son. It was like my dream job. I felt happy that things were getting better. I want my son to spend time with me as much as possible and not with a babysitter 24/7. I gave my 2 weeks notice to the hospital, and after that I was spending quality time with my son. The first few nights were great, although something bothered me. For some reason, sometimes I caught my son staring at a closet. It was a little weird, I thought, but it was a new place, a new city, so maybe the change also affects him somehow. Everything gave a 360-degree angle a month after we moved. I was at home with my son, and I went to the kitchen to prepare some food when I noticed that from the cradle my son was staring at the empty closet, as in deep in thought. I told my son on a sweet voice, "What's the matter?" But he acted as if he wasn't listening to me. I closed the closet, thinking that perhaps that's what it was bothering him. But after I did that, my son stared at the right side of the room. Few seconds later, he began crying, as if something he saw scared him. I asked him what was bothering him, and he pointed with his right hand at the right side of the room. There was nothing there. He kept crying, and after that, one of the toys my son had on the bed suddenly fell on the floor. At first, I thought that perhaps the wind was blowing and somehow it caused the movement, but the window was closed and I never touched the bed. I immediately took my keys, my car keys, my son in my arms, and went straight to my mother's home. It was a relief. My mom's house was relatively close. I ended up moving from that apartment. In the meantime, I spent some time with my parents and son. A few days later, I called one of my friends who remained working at the hospital I used to work. I kept talking about the good old days, about how everything looked the same. One conversation led to another after she asked me if I remembered an old lady that passed away right before I moved. I said yes, a little nervous. My friend told me that her cellmate was at the hospital right now and that she knew that this old lady was in prison because she stole babies from many families. She was making good money selling them to all kind of people, families, and some sick, depraved people who experimented with humans. The last thing my friend told me sent chills to my spine. She told me that she usually sneaked into homes and hid in closets until everybody went to bed. After that happened, I started to be better. I started to be a better person. I became more religious and went to church more often. Be careful out there and don't give too much information to anybody. You never know what kind of sick, tormented people are out there.